Now on BBC Radio Berkshire, it's Paul Ross.
And we're speaking in a matter of moments with the man who's bringing one of my favourite artists to the Royal County. It's Elio and his band, and they're going to be performing the Billy Joel Songbook for you. And for you, and for you, and you're going to hear a bijou snatchette very soon indeed. It's BBC Radio Berkshire.
Go ahead with your own life, leave me alone. Keep it to yourself, it's my life.
Billy Joel, undoubtedly one of our finest singer-songwriters and piano players. I say our finest because, little known fact, he was born and raised in Wokingham. I'm fibbing, of course. He's an East Coaster from New York. This is BBC Radio Berkshire, and talking of fantastic singer-songwriters and piano players, we're about to be joined by one who's worked alongside some absolute legends: Huey Lewis, Katie Melua, Gilbert O'Sullivan, another favourite of mine, Debbie Reynolds, the unsinkable Molly Brown and Singing in the Rain herself, Don McLean, Glenn Campbell, to name but a few. And he also duetted at a 30th birthday party with the Oscar winner, Sandra Bullock. And that was between now and last Christmas. I'm joking, of course. Delighted to welcome to BBC Radio Berkshire, Elio Pace. Good afternoon, Elio.
Good afternoon, Paul. Thanks for that lovely intro.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. I'm a huge fan of your work, even though I've often heard you on the dark side with the Darth Vader radio, Terry Wogan on Radio 2 of a Sunday morning.
That's right. Yes. That was all back in 2010, actually. We did 36 live shows from Radio Theatre. It was just one of the most incredible experiences of my career, that was. I loved it.
And before we talk about Billy Joel and the fact you're bringing the great man's work to Basingstoke this Friday and then to Maidenhead, Newbury and High Wycombe, when did you first know this is what you wanted to do for a living?
Well, and I must tell the listeners, this is not planned, but you've just played my life, right? And that was that's one of the reasons why this all happened. 30 years ago, I fell in love with Billy Joel's music. It wasn't my life I fell in love with. It was a song called This Night, but it was my life that I went looking for, and an ex-girlfriend of mine gave me the wrong cassette to go home and learn my life, and it wasn't on the cassette. This Night was, and that's how I fell in love with Billy's music all those years ago.
And was This Night off an Innocent Man, or if I'm mistaken,
exactly.
LPs, yeah. That for me was
This Night is mine. That one, I love
although
it.
Billy sang it in tune. That was a joke. Cut me some slack.
All right. No, I will. No, it's on the Innocent Man album. I went looking for the greatest hits with my life. She gave me the wrong cassette, and I took it home that night, and I became a Billy Joel fan at some point in the mid-80s when I was 16 or 17 years old. And you know what, Paul? From that moment on, I knew that one day I wanted to do a whole evening's worth of Billy Joel music. I didn't know in what format, how, or whatever. I waited for 30 years. Nobody has ever done what we are doing in the world, not just in the UK.
Because this isn't, as I understand, this isn't a tribute act, obviously not. This is your interpretations of some of these magnificent and underrated songs.
I love you for saying that, because it really makes a difference when I'm talking to somebody who gets what a genius this guy is. Yes. I mean, don't get me wrong. We're not doing reggae versions of Uptown Girl and stuff like that. But I am going out as myself, singing. I'm bound to sing a bit like Billy. People say I sound a bit like Billy Joel. Well, of course, I've been listening to it for 30 years. And there's a little bit of that when I sing Allentown. There's going to be a bit of Billy Joel in there. But I've got this amazing band. We go out honestly and sincerely playing these songs as closely to the record as we can, but with our own interpretations of our own styles. I tell some stories about the great man, some really great stories that a lot of people don't know, some of the background history of how this guy started, how he very nearly didn't make it, what song it was that got him discovered, what song it was that made him a star. And then by the end of the show, everyone's up on their feet and we're rocking the last 20 minutes to all the big hits of the show.
And Elio, do you do one of my favourites, which is A Bottle of Red, A Bottle of White? Scenes from an Italian restaurant. It's a movie, that song, isn't it?
Yeah. Except I do it in tune, Paul.
Nicking somebody else's material is called plagiarism and is actionable under British law. And listen, when you were pitching this to people, when you're talking about it with your band and whatever, did people kind of scratch their heads and wonder whether, because a lot of people don't know Billy Joel's work enough to know the depth of material he's got. Did people think, well, okay, you can do 4 or 5 of the hits and that'll be it? Yeah,
you know, I know you've got your eye on it, Paul, because of the way you are, but you're absolutely correct. I actually tried getting this show together about 18 years ago for the first time, and I went and took it to a producer who said, this is a great idea, but it's 18 years too early. So then I tried it again about 6 years ago, and only 6 theatres in the entire country got back who were interested. Then 18 months ago when I contacted Barry Collins' agency, and he went, "Do you know what, this is a great idea." And it seems to have just been the right time. We did 70 dates last year around the country, and I turned down a few. This year we're doing 50, having turned down about 100, because obviously I just can't do that much. I sing for 2.5 hours in this show, and I want, quality, not quantity, and all that sort of stuff. And so yes, finally, it's like, Billy Joel is actually, it's a weird thing, Paul. Selling this show wasn't as easy as you would imagine with a guy who's had over 30 massive hits. It's almost like the British public had sort of forgotten how great this guy is.
And also I think like a lot of the guys from around that time, and even in a different way Elton John, I know Elton doesn't write the lyrics, but there's a sense in which they're regarded often as singles artists and not so much as albums, whereas Glass Houses, magnificent. Innocent Man, magnificent. The River, magnificent. And you kind of think you're going to be spoiled for choice. So are there songs, do you mix up the running order of the songs, the playlist, or are there songs you love to put in there but simply haven't got the time? The one I love is Leningrad. Is that in there?
Well, you know what? I don't want to give too much away. Leningrad, just a straight answer, is not in the show, but I do feature its introduction in part of the show, describing elements of classical music that Billy Joel was basically started off as a classical musician, and I demonstrate to people elements of Billy Joel's music that has the classical influence in there. So yes, it's represented in the show. But you're right, the album Street Life Serenade is one of my all-time favourite albums of Billy's. But we've got 34 Billy Joel songs in the show, and that means that we've left out about 102.
Wow.
So,
Well, you're in Basingstoke. In fact, turning Basingstoke into Amazing Stoke this Friday. See what I did there, Elio?
Yeah, I love it.
Is there a website people can go to? Because to give people a heads up, you're in Maidenhead at Norden Farm, a great venue, 3rd of July. Newbury, the 18th of July. And then High Wycombe, just over the border. Another good venue, the Swan, 29th of October. Is there a website people can check you out on?
It's my website. It's eliopace.com, and go to the gigs page, and all the gigs are there. You can buy tickets from there, or if you want to go straight to the theatre, you can do that. But yeah, you know what? Last year was a fantastic year. We splashed the country with this brand new show. People really didn't know what to expect. They have come in their droves this year because they now know they're not going to get some cheap tribute. I love tribute bands, don't get me wrong, but the word tribute has been sabotaged by the guys that go because the tribute now means imitation. I'm not imitating.
No, you're interpreting and honouring. And can I say to you as well, I wonder whether after this, though, I know you'll always want to go back to Billy Joel, whether you consider doing the songbook of another of my favourite artists, Lionel Richie. And I tell you why, because you've got the perfect title, Elio, Is It Me You're Looking For? I've worked on that one. Now we're going to play you doing a Billy Joel song now. Thank you for the sympathy laugh there, the pity laugh. We're going to play your version of that fantastic song. If you stick around, we'll have a chat after this. Here is Elio Pace giving us Billy Joel's The River of Dreams.
Shore. I try to cross to the opposite side so I can finally find what I've been looking for. In the middle of the night, I go walking in my sleep through the jungle of doubt to the river so deep. I know I'm searching for something so undefined, but it can only be seen by the eyes of the blind. In the middle of the night. Been a spiritual man, but tossed by far our way to the river that is running to the promised land. In of the night, I go walking in my sleep through the desert of truth to the river so deep. We all end in the ocean, we all start in the streams. We're all carried along by the river of dreams in the middle of the night. In the middle of it, I go walking in the middle of it. 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 I go walking in the middle of it.
Loving the sound of that on BBC Radio Berkshire. That was Elio Pace and the band's version of The River of Dreams, of course, from his Billy Joel Songbook show. He's on at Basingstoke, the Haymarket, this Friday night, and then in Maidenhead, the 3rd of July, and Newbury, the 18th of July. Elio, you've got a fantastic range in that.
Thank you very much.
Have you got a warm-up routine before you go on stage, or you just hit it when you're out there?
I actually just hit it. I like to have something to eat before I go on stage. A lot of singers don't like to eat, but about an hour before I need to put something in my stomach. And
one of the many things you've got in common with Pavarotti.
Is that true?
When I mean the size. I'm joking, of course, again. I mentioned your range there, and I think I'm right in saying, do you do Goodnight Saigon in the show?
Yes, I do, sir.
Now, the note he hits in that when he says, we were sharp as, and then he hits a note so high that only bats can hear it. That is a really fierce note to go for.
Yeah, and it was dark. Bow, bow. I love it. Absolutely love it. But, Paul, that's not the highest note in the show. The highest note in the show is, apart from the falsetto there at the end of River of Dreams, is the note in An Innocent Man.
Of course it is, yes.
I'm an innocent... That one.
See, I could listen to him all day, Elio Pace in conversation. I think I'm going to be at the Maidenhead one. If not, I'll go to the High Wycombe or Newbury one. I'm definitely going to get along there. But
please,
the big question, I suppose, is when you started out, okay, and you're starting performing and singing, was there ever a moment, as with Billy Joel, when you thought, you know what, I'm banging my head against the proverbial brick wall, I've got to give this all up and get a proper job?
Oh, well, do you know what? Do you know what? It's yes and no. I've never, ever really seriously ever considered doing anything else. You know why? Because I can't actually do anything else as well as I can do what I'm doing. And so I'm not kidding myself about that. I don't think I'll be a great video editor or a great radio presenter or anything. I love making music so much. The tough part of it is that I love making music. I've had some lovely success, and it's really tough. When you love creating something, I mean, I still love writing my own material, but I don't think I'm a sucker to it. I don't think I'm ever going to be able to do anything else.
Now, if you had to name 3 artists apart from Billy Joel, whom you love, who would they be?
ABBA.
Surprising.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with it. I wouldn't put you in that category, though, but a great pop band, great songwriters.
ABBA, Stevie Wonder, and Elvis Presley.
And you worked with one of my favourites, and you did a tribute Elvis. You were part in that tribute concert, weren't you? I think about Elvis Presley a while ago. Elvis Forever.
That was the last time we spoke, which was September 2010.
What a good memory. Important for both of us. But also, you sang, I mentioned earlier on, at Sandra Bullock's 30th birthday party, and she got up and sang a duet with you. How did that come about? Were you actually been a fan? Were you booked kind of, I don't know, through an agency for birthday? What were you doing? Were you dressed as a clown? Did you deliver the cake? How did you come to be there?
I delivered the cake and I was dressed as a clown. How did you guess that?
Not really, of course.
No, cut a long story short, back in the early days when I was like gigging and throwing a PA into the back of my car and a little keyboard and driving myself to pubs and clubs around London, in the King's Road, there's a restaurant called the Big Easy, and they have live music. They used to have live music every single night downstairs. And one night, I got a phone call from the restaurant saying, could you change your night over and come in on Thursday this week and not Friday, because we have a client coming in who we think your sort of entertaining would more suited to the sort of lovely light jazz stuff that goes on other nights. I went, yes. I went there, I set up. Halfway through the night, Sandra Bullock walks in. I've got a drum machine on top of a piano and 2 speakers. That was my gig, and I was singing Billy Joel and everything, and just like everything from Neil Diamond to Van Morrison to Elton John to everything, just to entertain people. And it wasn't background music, it was a raucous stuff. She comes down halfway through with about 26 people. She was making In Love and War, so Chris O'Donnell was there as well, and they sit right in front of me on at the table. I'm on the floor, there's no stage. She sits right in front of me. She gets slowly more drunk. I know it's her birthday. I keep getting little messages saying, will you get Sandy up to sing something? And eventually, because I had a spare microphone, after the birthday cake came up, we sang Happy Birthday. I said, come on then, get up and sing. And she whispered in my ear, she said, 1, I'm terrible at singing, and 2, I'm completely drunk. And I went, that's all right, let's do something. What do you want to do? And she said, let's do something from Greece. So we did You're the One That I Want and Summer Nights from Greece together. And
you could have done Sandy to her, couldn't you, for her birthday?
I actually did sing Sandy. I did sing to her before she got up. Chris O'Donnell then got up and did Brown Eyed Girl, and it was just an amazing night. Do you know what, Paul? The greatest thing, there was in the days before mobile phones. There's no pictures of it. There's no proof of it. I could be lying to you, but I know I'm not. It really did happen. And when they left me a tip in cash on the table that was twice as much as I was getting that night anyway.
Wow, that's a fantastic story, and it's like we were there. You told it so brilliantly there. Thank you very much, Elio Pace. And I must say, that film you mentioned, In Time of Love and War, is an underrated gem. It's based on the Ernest Hemingway's first proper novel, A Farewell to Arms. It's a really lovely First World War movie. Thank you very much for your time. That was Elio Pace there talking about his love of Billy Joel, his shows. He's on in Basingstoke this Friday night, then back to Maidenhead in July and Newbury in July as well. Finally, 29th of October, High Wycombe. Elio Pace, top chap, talking to BBC Radio Berkshire.